The book I'm reviewing this month is this one, Wisdom of the Mystic Masters by Joseph J. Weed. Now, it was originally published in 1968. This version was the 1971 version. Yes, February 1971. So the paperback, the original was actually just published as a hardcover. So this was the paperback version, 1971. So this was published before I was born. So yeah, before the dinosaurs. Okay. Now, this is one of those very curious esoteric texts that tends to quietly circulate among seekers of occult wisdom without the fanfare of the more popular grimoires. As I said, first published in 1968 and often associated with the Rosicrucian tradition. Weed was a member of Amorc, or the ancient mystical order of the Rosy Cross. The book presents itself as a practical manual for spiritual development. It promises the reader a path to self-mastery, inner awakening, and occult knowledge drawn from ancient mystery schools and mystic traditions. Whether it delivers on those promises depends greatly on what the reader is actually looking for. Now, this book was recommended to me in the comments section of one of my Path series videos about Rosicrucianism, and I found it on sale for a really low price, so immediately ordered it and thought I'd do this review. And my first impression is that it is perfect for beginners on the path in general. Those who are wanting to explore magic and mysticism, but really not sure what avenue they want to go down, this introduces them to the basics and starts to build on their foundations, really. It does remind me a little of the typical texts that we would find from the 70s and 80s that usually focus on like ESP or Xenocards or, that kind of craze. But it is really a solid read and study. But before I continue, I actually want to just go through the reviews, as I tend to like to do every now and again. All right, so here's the book on Amazon, available in paperback for $16. If anybody in South Africa is watching this, I did find this on the fairly new South African Amazon site, and I paid like 200 Rand for it, so it really was a damn good price. All right, let's get down to the reviews. Oh, I just wanted to actually, let me get down here, and then I'll. There's not a lot about Weed himself, but apart from the fact he was born in 1901, he died in 1978. So this was actually published not long before he actually passed away. He did produce a few other books. In fact, one strange thing is a book called Psychic Energy that he apparently published, but if he died in 1978, this was published in 1979. So not sure he got that right. It's pretty good going, actually. But yeah, they're all kind of like that, as I said, that kind of 70s, 80s vibe of the, the whole ESP craze that went around. But yeah, anyway. So getting back to Amazon, go over here. Okay, great review. Oh, I mean, 4.6 out of 5. I mean, generally it's a good review. That's quite a lot of reviews as well. So, I think we can safely say this is good. Let's just have a look at some of the 1 stars and 2 stars though, I like to go through the bad reviews just to see what people have actually said, if there's actually any validity to what they have. This first one, first I'd like to start off by saying I've never written a bad review on Amazon before. I'm not writing this because I read the book, but because I purchased and had to throw it out. Okay. I think we should be cautious of what it is we are opening the door to. This is an open door to the occult and unknown. Well, obviously, the person obviously was not intelligent enough to read what they were actually buying. Okay, so we're moving on. I don't know if what he presents are authentic Rosicrucian teachings or not, but if they are, my interest in Rosicrucianism has gone down dramatically. What I can say is the writer makes a lot of annoying assertions. For example, in introduction, he quotes a Dr. Krill of Cleveland, apparently an outstanding authority, as claimed that the average man normally uses less than 5% of his brain capacity, and even the greatest geniuses rarely employ more than 10 or 15%. This claim is a pet peeve of mine, okay. You know, this review was written in 2016. The book was written in 1971. Have some context. Okay, so we're going to skip that one as well. This one, book written in 1968, quite obsolete in today's age. Show us your grammar and spelling. The teachings in this book have been exposed in much more details and in much more articulated manner in other books. Okay, so that's fine. Just found out I have a hard copy and do not need it. So why are you giving a 1-star review? Okay. Some people are just really, really strange. People are trying to change or alter events or reality using methods they do not realize or are outdated and dangerous. This book was not for me, so then don't buy it. I read his previous books and found the info to be the same. Yeah, well, people do that. It's the Law of Attraction or The Secret all over again. Not really, because this was written decades before The Secret. Again, context. Did not like it. Okay, BS. All right. Very constructive criticisms. I have to second that the previous 1-star review says, yeah, this book opens doors that are best left closed. Okay. All right. Fundamentalist Christian nonsense. Okay, let's just have a look at this one. This author has a few screws loose in his head. Oh, right. And you don't. He makes a lot of dumb claims that are not based on any real evidence. If you are an analytical sense type like me, okay, I would not recommend this book. Okay, then don't read it. I'm giving this book 2 stars because the poor writing style of Weed. What? He's definitely not all over the place. It was a brilliant read. I read only a quarter of this book and cannot read the rest. Okay. Definitely don't agree with that. I read the book and boy, what a load of BS. This Mr. Weed is very long-winded. No, he kind of gets straight to the point. All right, no, let's just leave all that. Okay, I'm just going to carry on with my review then. So I found the tone of the book very instructional, but approachable, which makes it especially accessible to beginners in the esoteric arts. Weed's writing style is definitely straightforward, almost therapeutic, and intentionally designed to demystify mystical subjects. He covers a wide range of topics, including visualization, affirmations, healing, reincarnation, astral projection, karma, and the hidden powers of the human mind. While many of these subjects are presented in broad strokes, each chapter gives the impression of opening a door, offering a glimpse into a deeper world of inner work and personal transformation. That's possibly where some of these reviewers actually kind of fell short, is that they were looking for all of the answers in one book, and they're not going to find it in one book. So, this is definitely opening the door to these particular mysteries and practices themselves. One of the strengths of Wisdom of the Mystic Masters is its emphasis on practice over theory. Weed doesn't just want you to read about esoteric concepts, he wants you to live them. Exercises are embedded throughout the text, such as concentration drills, self-suggestion formulas, and meditative visualizations designed to activate the subconscious and connect the individual with higher planes of consciousness. So I just want to close that. These techniques borrow from both Eastern and Western traditions, but are filtered through the lens of Rosicrucian philosophy, which emphasizes harmony, service, and the unfolding of latent spiritual potential. That said, the book is not without its limitations. While it offers a coherent overview of mystic practice, it often lacks depth. Those already familiar with Hermeticism, the Western mystery tradition, or modern occult literature may find the material somewhat elementary or overly simplified, which is why I would, recommend it to beginners. But the mystical assertions about karma, healing, and reincarnation are presented with authority, but without evidence or nuanced argument. Weed doesn't attempt to justify these claims so much as assert them, which might leave skeptical or intellectually rigorous readers wanting more. Having said that, the author is writing from his own knowledge and experience, and it is mentioned in the last chapter that the book only holds a very small amount of the knowledge that can be found within the Rosicrucian monographs. This book tends to act as an introduction and an invitation to explore further. Also, that very simplicity is part of the book's charm. There's a sincerity in Weed's approach that bypasses the egoic trappings often found in occult writing. He's not trying to impress, he's trying to teach. There's very little grandstanding, no labyrinthine language, and certainly no elitism. Instead, there's a sense of moral clarity and insistence that spiritual development must go hand in hand with ethical behavior, compassion, and self-discipline. The book's Rosicrucian undercurrent is also worth noting. Weed doesn't explicitly frame every chapter within Rosicrucian doctrine, but readers familiar with the order will recognize the philosophical structure. There is an emphasis on harmony between science and spirit, personal evolution as service to humanity, and the idea that true wisdom is always inner directed. These themes reflect the broader 20th century attempt to revive the mystical West as a legitimate spiritual path outside of dogma and institutional religion. In a modern context, wisdom of the mystic masters may feel like a throwback, but not in a bad way. It belongs to a generation of occult literature that sought to integrate spiritual practices into everyday life. This was before the commodification of witchcraft and before the current explosion of digital esotericism. Weed's work is rooted in a quieter, more contemplative tradition, one that values inner silence, repetition, and commitment over spectacle. For those just dipping their toes into esotericism, this book can act as a gentle but firm guide into the deeper waters. It doesn't pretend to be a complete map, but it does offer a compass. If you're looking for practical exercises to enhance intuition, mental clarity, and spiritual grounding, this book delivers. Ultimately, Wisdom of the Mystic Masters stands as a humble but enduring contribution to the modern mystical canon. It reflects a time when spiritual work was slow, private, and disciplined, and in doing so, it reminds us that perhaps it should be again. All right, so I just want to read some bits. So I just want to go to my notes over here so I get the pages. Just a few things. Sorry, I just need to obviously change my eyes because, I might be a dinosaur and the book may have been written pre-dinosaur, but I need to change my eyes. All right, let's go here. This was, I actually picked this particularly. One thing that needs to be remembered when you are, especially when you're exploring like Rosicrucian's texts, they tend to speak a lot about the mystic masters, and this includes Christ, right, and Buddha, and all of the other ascended masters. You're going to come across this. It's not Christian based though. There are some avenues, orders, particular sects of Rosicrucianism that do focus a lot more on Christian mysticism than others do. Amorc itself doesn't really, but it does bring in the mystic masters. I'm not really going to read this. I just wanted to point that out as a point of reference, because you're going to come across it. You've got to understand, got to have context and reference when you're reading stuff like this. And it's very important. The other thing I wanted to actually mention, which is very interesting, if you go into various, I suppose, astrological texts or astrological understandings, you tend to have these cycles that you go through, which are usually a 7-year period. Now, what's interesting here is that he goes into how to break that 7-period cycle into a year. All right, so you break it up into a year, and each cycle has a particular current that you're going to go through, and you start with the day you were born, and you start breaking down these 7 cycles within each year, and then you can actually map out what's going to happen to you, or the kind of context, give you context of things that are going to actually crop up, the current that is flowing through your life and things like that. So that was chapter understanding the law of cycles, and it's your private yearly life cycle. Now he also goes into how to apply this to business and health and such, and then also mentions that there's a much deeper understanding and teaching, within the Rosicrucian texts. This is just kind of, again, as I said, opening of doors, introducing you to particular concepts. Right, what was the next thing here? So I'm going to go to my notes quickly. Oh, right, yeah. I kind of like the examples that he gives. This was actually a section called Speeding Up the Accumulation of Psychic Energy, and he gives an exercise on a breathing exercise, which is very good. But I like this, the opening paragraph. There are many ways in which you can speed up the accumulation of psychic energy. There are some substances that store it. Pine needles, particularly the short new green shoots, will radiate this energy into your fingertips. Just touch the tip of each finger and thumb to the points of the needles and hold them in that position for 2 or 3 minutes. This will give you a slight charge of psychic energy, and if repeated daily, 2 or 3 times each day for a few weeks, there will be a noticeable strengthening in your aura and your entire etheric mental nature. This is a particularly good treatment for people who have been sick or are run down and their energies are on low ebb. The treatment should be practiced with a bough still growing on the tree and not cut off from it. So, all these kind of little tidbits that you find in this book, I think they're fantastic, actually. And then the exercises themselves are amazing. They really are. I mean, I've been, some things I've been practicing for, God, I don't know, a couple of decades at least. And there were some specific, how to work with the chakras, for instance. There is mention of the psychic senses or psychic centers being the chakras, and there's mention of you only work in Rosicrucianism. Apparently, you only work with the upper 3. The solar plexus chakra is the kind of bridge in between the lower and the upper. You don't work with the lower chakras. I kind of disagree with that myself. I think we need to kind of balance the entire body. But, this is one way of doing things. And so, although I do obviously recommend this for beginners, it should be noted that this is an introduction. It's just opening the avenues. And, once you have gone through this, then you need to explore further and then start, exploring different perspectives and different ways of actually thinking. All right. Let's see, what did I note this one for? Oh, yeah, that was oh, no, sorry, I actually meant to read this one. It was about there are no shortcuts. Do not be deceived by the claims and advertisements that offer instant development, quick divine aid, and magical solutions to your problems. There are none. But if you will work at your development, really work at it, you can so change your physical equipment that you'll be able to do things a year or so from now that today you regard as impossible. These new powers come quite naturally as your psychic centers open and accelerate their motion. The exercises and explanations that follow are a help, or are to help you bring this about. So, this was written in 1971. This is more pertinent now than today than I think it was then. With our internet, short form content, and just do X, Y, and Z, and you can have all the powers you want. There's no shortcuts. Right. Very, very vital information. Okay, so the last bit I want to read is actually the very last chapter. Kind of, he's talking about concepts, about psychic centers, karma, and awakening or increasing your psychic energy, and all of this stuff. There's also a bit about working with the etheric body and actual projection, mental projection, and then etheric projection of the etheric body. So astral projection, really. There's some exercises you can go through in there, which are actually very interesting. But in the last chapter, he kind of mentions that this is Rosicrucianism. This is just the really, really touching the tip of the iceberg as far as the Rosicrucian texts go. But there's a bit of history here that I thought was actually pretty interesting. If anybody's interested in Amorc and the Rosicrucian order, let me just see. Because I did go obviously a bit into the history with the Path series that I did, but I found this to be a good addition to that. For many years, the general public held the belief that the Rosicrucian order was started in Germany in the 17th century by a man named Christian Rosenkreuz, from whom it got its name. But research in the present century has revealed that Christian Rosenkreuz was a symbolic name adopted by the current head of the Rosicrucians and meant only a Christian of the Rosy Cross. Many documents have come to light with dates of Rosicrucian activities as early as the 12th and 13th centuries. The Encyclopedia Britannica states that Cornelius Agrippa refers to the foundation of a branch in 1507, in which a brother Philalathus was invested with the power of the imperator. The Britannica further lists a book by Omnis Moriar, which tells of a Rosicrucian lodge in Germany in 1115, and lists also another in 1230, and Arnold de Villanova as an officer of the order. There are numerous other dates given in records which are in libraries and collections available to the public. The private records of the Rosicrucian order indicate it much older and actually place the date of its origin back in the time of the Egyptian mystery schools and the reign of Thutmose III. So yeah, I thought it was a bit of an interesting inclusion regarding the history. All right, so that's it. A Wisdom of the Mystic Masters by Joseph J. Weed. All right, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Links in the description to the book and everything else you'll find everywhere. Okay, up here, down there, all the places. All right, so I'll see you next time. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.